That's why we have courts. We have courts because if there is an issue with regard to property, you come to a court and the court makes a decision as to whose property it is. But his father gave him permission to cut through the screen and go into the house to have his property back. Just a second. To cut through the screen and go into the house? Of course not. And he lives there. Dana was the one that denied him of the property, not Jeff. He cut the screen and went into the house. I understand. That's burglary. Now, if she, and I'm not putting any medals on her chest, filed a protective order against her stepson for doing that, rather than trying to handle it as a familial situation, I don't think that that was a good idea. I think it was a very bad idea. But she certainly had the right to do it because that's the other part of your lawsuit. You're complaining about the protective order that they filed against you when I think that you had a lot to do with getting that furniture out of there, and she filed a protective order against Trenton because he cut through the screen in her home because she's living there now. Actually, she was not the owner of the home when it happened. Just a second. She doesn't have to be the owner. I assume the judgment of divorce provided it that he stay in the house. Yes. Well, then you're divorced. If he wants to get married, if he wants to stay single, if he wants to have friends over, that's none of your business. He brought his wife into the house. Now it's their domicile. It's irrelevant whose name is on the title. One thing I know for sure, his name isn't on the title. So he can't go in through the screen to take property. Now, so I think Mrs. Dorsey owes you, so far, $558. That's your lawsuit. Now you have a counterclaim that, as far as I'm concerned, is equally as ridiculous. You have a child, yes. You say that the Xbox that he took was not his. Is that what you're telling me? No, ma'am. What they came in through the window and took was an Xbox. We had 3 different Xboxes. Took an Xbox, 4 game controllers, 2 battery packs, and about 10 games. Everything but the Xbox I know for a fact was my son's. How do you know that? Because his game was in there, and all of his games are gone. What else do you want? I'm losing my patience and sympathy, my lost wages. Forget it for having to miss work. Forget it. I don't think you should have filed anything against your stepson. Nothing. Your Honor, my 13-year-old is scared to death of him. I've had to withdraw him from public school because they go to the same school together. I don't think that you should have filed a protective order against him for breaking into the house. It was a house where he lived. It was a house that he lived long before you were there, right? Right? Long before his stepbrother lived there. Yes, Your Honor. And I would have said to her, don't do that. It's not good for my family. Tass, we may not get along right now, but you don't add fuel to the fire. You don't have to bring coals to Pelion to make the matters worse, because she really doesn't care whether or not you have a relationship with your children or not. I can tell that. That's not true, Your Honor. Sure it is. Sure it is, because for spite, you overdrew an account because she decided not to pay half. That's what you just told me before. She doesn't care. So I wouldn't let her make any decision whatsoever with regard to your young children, because even the 21-year-old is young, because she's not acting in their best interest. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am. And if you don't know that, I'm telling you, it's my business. You're the father. You may get angry, but you wouldn't act in a way that was not in their best interest, even if one of them doesn't follow the rules, and one of them is an obnoxious brat, which I have the feeling this one might be, I'm not sure, but her focus is totally different from yours as a parent to these 3 children. So I wouldn't let her make any decisions with regard to them, like filing a criminal complaint against them. Do you understand? Your counterclaim's dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $558. Goodbye. Parties are excused. You may step out.